Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
It's lovely to see you again. Today is another milestone, perhaps, in our journey, but not an entirely unbroached milestone. This is our 10 fragrances for life.
Yeah.
But we've sort of chatted about this before, haven't we? Although not quite in the same vein.
Yeah, not it's kind of the same but different. So we decided we're not going to do a summer top 10 summer favorite fragrances, anything like that. We kind of felt that if we were doing it, we would either be regurgitating our previous videos, or we would be putting things in that video which haven't actually been the fragrances which would be most wearing in the summer. Because
Yeah.
we felt we went back to some of our old favorites. So we thought there didn't seem to be any point in just doing the video for the sake of a video. So this is something this video we were tagged for ages ago and we never ended up doing. But we did do a video, I think it was 18 months ago, which is keep only 10 fragrances. So it's almost the same thing as this 10 fragrances for life. I guess the thing about 10 fragrances for life, it means it's not your 10 favorite fragrances. You've got to have a kind of a wardrobe of, so for instance, you don't want 10 heavy amber orientals, or maybe you do.
Yeah.
But so I think certainly the way I've looked at it, I've tried to kind of get a bit of a balance. If I can only keep 10 fragrances in my wardrobe, what are they going to be? As I said, 18 months ago we did a similar video, and we thought it'd be interesting to see how our choices have changed. We haven't checked that video. What we're going to do, we're going to show you our 10 choices each. Then at the video, at the end, we're going to check the video, and then we'll see if we've chosen exactly the same 10, or if there are lots of differences, and maybe try and work out why that is.
Do you know, if this is all completely different than 18 months ago, I think it's probably a really interesting thing, because it means that our tastes have changed and this is an ever-evolving love affair. It's an ever-evolving hobby.
Well,
and if they're the same, it means that we're consistent and we're stubborn and we will not be moved.
And that we've been wasting a lot of time and money buying new fragrances, perhaps.
That too.
So, Joe, hit us with your 10 fragrances for life.
Okay.
You have to ditch everything else. You're keeping 10. Go.
I have to throw everything else away. So these are not in any order at all, really, but these are things that I have a special meaning for me that I would keep. So there's a train going past, but I can't shut the window because it's so hot. Okay, number 10 is Zing. For me, this is the epitome of an interesting niche fragrance, and something that's just different and bold and daring. You know, maybe now this is considered a bit dated in terms of niche perfume, not in terms of the smell, but you know, we've been there, we've smelt it. But I think Olivia Jacobetti has done an absolutely amazing job with this. Toffee apple, elephant dung, kind of caramel notes, some funk. I think it's really, really stunning.
It's the first real niche fragrance, isn't it? You know, and I'm talking niche, not as in Creed, as in like a posh version of something which is familiar. You know, it's a real like creative, artistic fragrance. For me, it's like amazing. That was your number one.
That's the thing I think with that. Yeah, I mean, I love that stuff. Another thing that I think will just always be with me. I can't really describe why. And I've talked about this before. Breath of God. Because it's just so weird and wonderful. And I've been through bottles and bottles of this stuff. And every time I smell it, I love it. And I think that's the best fragrance ever. Because, you know, it's just weird. It's kind of smoky and dirty, but then it's also kind of really fresh and clean. It's a sort of real fragrance that adapts to your mood. And I mean, fairly recently, I managed to get hold of a bottle of Inhale and a bottle of Exhale. So now I can make up my own Breath of God. Yeah, exactly. If I feel I want the more smoky aspect one day, or the more sort of melony, fruity aspect, I can mix them up. So yeah, Breath of God. I think Lush do some fantastic stuff, I have to say.
Massively underrated house. So what's your number 3?
I think they're really on it. Number 3 is going to be, again, a stalwart that's always with me, never goes very far away, is the old Trumpers Sandalwood. because, I mean, what we both are fans of this, aren't we, Dan?
Certainly are, yeah.
How can someone not love this? It's just really, really good quality. It's really cheap.
It's insane. I mean,
it's beautiful.
If you picked it up and smelt it, and you had to guess the price, you would probably put like another zero on, not another zero on, but like you would probably add another like 80 quid to the price mark.
Yeah.
To guess.
That's it. I mean, the first time I got this, it was about £39, which and I wore it a lot. Back when I didn't have a ridiculous amount of stuff, I wore this more. Obviously, I had fewer perfumes, and I just felt absolutely happy and in the right zone every time I wore it. So yeah, Trumpers Sandalwood. I need to get some more from Trumpers as well. I'm on the case with that.
Number 4.
So another for life. I'm not going to take it out of the box because it's actually a bit of a faff to put back together again. Is L'air du désert marocain by Andy Tower. I love it. It's one of the first really sort of interesting kind of, I hate the word niche actually. It makes me feel slightly ill. One of the first really interesting niche fragrances I sort of smelled and bought.
Yeah.
And again, it's just insanely good value and bold and interesting and beautifully put together. Amber, smoke, incense, sweetness.
Whenever it's still it's still about it's £100 a bottle, isn't it? And whenever you smell a new fragrance that's 250 quid for 50 ml, you've got to think, why is that price? And yet Andy Tower can do this. Is it better than L'air du désert marocain? Probably not, because not many things are.
It's just such a. I think if you were going to say what's a really perfectly well put together fragrance that's kind of classically structured, respects the traditions of the past, but is new, modern, transportative, that does it for me. It really does. So yeah, that's number 4. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? So I'm just so indecisive when it comes to which order to put things. I mean, for me, I've got to mention this guy, which I have done before as well. It's Hasu no Hana by Grossmith.
Oh yeah,
I love this stuff. I love my sort of vintage, dated, dandified, beautiful things. And there she is in her little box.
Oh, it's so elegant.
It's really beautiful,
and it smells even better. Just for that kind of, it's kind of a perfect sheet, isn't it? It's kind of got
absolutely
brightness at the top and darkness at the bottom, and beautiful florals going on in between. It's just magic.
Everything about it is just beautifully put together, and it really does take you back in time. I mean, this was 1 year before Jiki. This was 1888. Yeah. This thing was first made, and I think it's a luxury. I feel really proud to have this bottle, and to be able to travel back in time and have some closeness to those times. And I really also want to get a couple more of those. So that's that. Speaking of Chypre, I have to include this. I don't know if I included it last time. I don't think I did actually. I can't remember. Mitsuko.
Oh.
I'm going to be wearing this more and more. I think this is a reference fragrance that everyone should have. On my desert island, or keeping my 10 fragrances for life. Oh, this thing. I mean, I can't smell that now without thinking of the Osmotek that we visited.
Yeah.
I think this thing captures the simplicity and the complexity and the beauty of perfume in a bottle.
Yeah.
The peachiness, the mossiness. I mean, you've got the proper stuff. This is an EDP of fairly recent vintage. But you've got the proper extra.
Story,
it's amazing.
The story and the heritage. You can't, and the influence it's had. Like I can't separate like story from fragrance, and it's just, there's so much history and story there. Amazing.
It's a sort of it's a benchmark for Guerlain, and one of the things that put them on the map. And I mean, really, it's still the fact that they make stuff like this that makes me forgive them when they churn out some of the stuff that they do today. I'm sure there's some great stuff as well, but for me, if you say Guerlain, I think Mitsuko, I think Shalimar, I think pre Jiki, I think Abbey Rouge,
pre LVMH.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mitsuko. Where am I up to then? So
I think that was 6.
6. 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got to go. Yeah. So this is again something that I think both Dan and I have enjoyed and have. The first time I smelled this, I knew that this was me in a bottle, and this is Mora from Prin. I pretty much immediately I smelled this and I said, I'm getting that. I love this. I have to have it.
It's your third sheeper in a row.
It is. I'm a sheeper man today. But everything in here, this coffee, the opium, the aldehydes,
smoke as well,
the big florals, all the smoke in there. I mean, I was looking at this the other day. Cannonball flower. I've not even smelled that. I need to try and smell that. Champaca. You've got ash, cumin, everything. Teak, frangipane. It's a huge list. The civet coffee.
Mm.
It's such a good fragrance. It's so evocative and vintage, but yet completely modern.
And it's so Prin. It's so Prin Lomros.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't checked out his work, I mean, it's just unlike anyone else. Oh. When he's at his best, it's just magical.
It's full of his personality, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't make this anymore. It's in a new version, isn't it? It's under his new label.
Yeah. So what is it?
I'm ashamed to say I can't remember the name.
I'll put the name down. I'll put the picture up here.
Yeah.
Or something, yeah.
But it's bloody good. I love it.
Mm.
So next for me, kind of something again that Dan got me onto, which is this little bad boy here, Ottoman Empire Part 2. I mean, this is,
look at that bottle.
This is just beautiful. I think this is definitely the most opulent fragrance I own. I think it's absolutely staggering. It feels like every ingredient that was ever made in perfume is in this bottle, but somehow it's blended together amazingly well. There's not a rough edge in sight. It's full of personality. It's just enormous, and it feels wonderfully old-fashioned in the sense that people are not making perfume like this anymore, although apparently they are.
It's so it's just well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. In a way, I think that's in a way kind of, it feels like it harkens to those big old theatrical kind of sheepras, but it's done in a slightly from the perspective of someone who also kind of like distills oud and does amazing and wonderful things.
Yeah, it's got all of that heritage behind it, but then he's taking it in slightly a modern direction as well. But it's part of the lineage, isn't it? So where am I up to now? I'm sorry, 2 more.
Number 9, yeah. So 2 more.
Something that I wore a lot, and this might be a new addition. I don't know, but something I wore a lot actually in the autumn, and really loved was Shazam.
Oh.
And this has made it into my keep top 10 for a very simple reason. I was going to say it does what it says on the tin. It doesn't Shazam. Although maybe it does. But I love this because it's like a perfect, slightly sweet, woody, beautiful thing. I can't put my finger on it, but it's the same reaction I had to Andy Tower when I first smelled it.
It does Shazam. Like the first spray just kind of goes.
So good. Yeah, I mean it's. I sort of ignored it for a little while, and now every time I wear it, I just have a really happy day. I have a really glowing, positive feeling about it, and I find more and more it's got this minty eucalyptusy, mentholated thing going on as well, which really intrigues me. It's the same thing with Breath of God as well. Actually, the combination is the thing that gets me, rather than just the idea itself.
When I went to Morocco for over New Year, and I took Le Désert Marocain, and I also took Shazam as well. And it was interesting wearing them, not at the same time, but wearing them kind of day after day, how much they did share in common, actually. Beautiful stuff. Yeah,
there's a relationship there, isn't there? So I love that. And from the wonderful, I should say, from Sarah McCartney and 4160 Tuesdays. I mean, this thing, if you want something that's going to kind of be the cutting edge, daring thing, it's not this, and that's why I love it. It's like a perfectly made. It's like a model of how to make a good fragrance. that transports you away without sort of bombarding you or confusing your mind. Does that make sense? I mean, I know that sounds really weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really mindful fragrance. So number one, this is a fragrance I've just completely fallen head over heels with, and that's by Bogway. I love it so
another big
much.
sheep, bro.
Another big sheep. I've gotten into these so much, but I mean, I'm not going to undo it because it's quite a potent thing. But it's
look at the colour of that.
Oh. It's just everything under the kitchen sink in there, and it really is. It's kind of, it's all the big florals you can shake a stick at. It's got this slightly pissy thing going on, but never over pushes it. It's got the animalic of like vintage Kouros. It's got the beautiful elegance of French sort of classical perfumery as well. I think it's a really stunning fragrance. I love it.
It is,
and
a masterpiece.
I think I love the fact that it's made by a sort of an architect turned perfumer as well. I think it's sort of, I think I wear this sometimes and think, oh well, maybe if I became a perfumer, I could make something as interesting as that. I transport myself away into that, and I never would, because obviously the first thing I would make would smell probably like Jif, or what is it called, Sif?
Yeah, Sif, yeah.
Pledge, whatever, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's 10. Are we allowed an honourable mention, or do we do them at the end? Do you think?
No, go for it. Yeah. Do your honourable mention.
I only have one, and I bet there's probably some overlap here with Dan and I. But an honourable mention goes to this little guy, Timbuktu, who I love. I've not worn it as much as I did, but I know that, if I dropped this and smashed it, I would immediately order another bottle.
I think you probably have a little cry first.
Yeah, I would have a little cry and maybe have a little sip of lager. But it's evocative. It transports you away. I mean,
it's magical. It's magical.
You know this stuff well, don't you? So yeah, I think that's if I had to keep 10 for life. At the moment, this is where I am. But I'm a very temperamental person. I might change, and I have no idea what this compares to last time.
Well, you say you're temperamental, but I'll do my top 10, and then we'll go and check, both of us, how close we were.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see, actually.
Right.
So, what have you got?
Do you think? How many do you think I've got in common with you? Take a guess. Just give me a number. How many I've got in common?
In common, I potentially 3.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna.
I don't know.
Well, you should see. You should see in a minute. So here are my 10 fragrances for life. The first 6 are from 3 perfumers.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
I like that. That's dedication.
Yeah. The first 6 are from 3 perfumers. So 2 from each. So we start with a little man called Jacques Guerlain. So the first fragrance.
Genius.
Some of these choices were really easy. Some were not so difficult, but some were really easy. This is Mouchoir de Monsieur by Guerlain. This is the bottle that I bought in the Champs-Élysées boutique last year when I was with Joe. I haven't even opened this. I'm on about my 3rd one of these. This is the atomizer one. But it just, not only is it a beautiful classic, it's this animalic lavender, beautiful, manly. It just takes me back. It feels like a piece of history. It tells such a story. I mean, I love Jiki, but this is kind of just Jiki with a slight masculine twist, but also a little bit more funk. I love it. It's magical. It makes me so happy every time I wear it, and I can never imagine being without. I keep trying to look for an old bottle of it, but you just don't see them around at all.
No, well, because it's so bloody good that anyone that has it wants to keep it.
Yeah,
that's the trouble.
But speaking of old bottles,
great choice.
My number 2, also by Jacques Guerlain, a few years later, it's Mitsuko So here's my
Ah,
X-ray from
well, gel.
from 1980, and if I had to keep one, this is
It's so good, isn't it?
I mean, I don't want to diss your choice, Joe, but this does it.
I
When
think
you
that beats
smell,
it by a considerable margin.
it does kind of it makes you a bit sad to kind of smell the modern stuff because this is so magical. The opening is so bright and fruity and real and edible, and the oak moss in the
Yeah.
dry down is just so magical. And the spice in the middle. I could just, I mean, if I had to keep one out of these 10, it would probably be this Mitsuko, especially if it's a 1980 X-Ray. So those are my
Do you
two.
want to know a really tragic thing?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. A really
Go for it.
tragic thing that once upon a time, well, maybe not the X-Ray, but maybe the EDP, you could have bought in Boots a completely unadulterated, uninterfered with
Yeah.
version of Mitsuko. The stuff that we're now paying thousands of pounds for on eBay was
Yeah.
once on the shelf in your local Boots or Superdrug.
Sad times. So I had two
But
from
that's very special.
Jacques Guerlain there. Now we have two from the
Masterpiece.
first. This is the first perfumer, I think, whose name I ever found out. And once I found out the name of the perfumer, I wanted to find out more from him. The perfumer is Bertrand Duchefort. The fragrance
Yeah.
is Timbuktu, so a choice that Joe made. But this is,
Yeah.
it didn't quite make
It's
your
a
top 10,
special
actually,
one for both of us.
but this is definitely in my
No,
top 10. And it is also significant because it's one of the fragrances that kind of really got me interested in fragrance. When I first smelled it, I'd not smelled anything like it. It smelled so exotic. This mango and incense. I was like, what is this? I didn't realize perfume could smell like this. It just automatically, I was transported to an island and
It's
wow, it
absolutely
has a
wonderful,
special
isn't it?
place. Another one, my number 4, another one from Bertrand Duchefort is Chypre Palatin by MDCI. And this, obviously, as the clues in the title,
Masterpiece.
this is a Chypre, but I mean, I said Mitsuko would be the only one I would keep, but this is, if I had to choose a signature scent, a fragrance to wear every day, it would be this. Because sometimes it feels kind of like smart and formal. Sometimes it feels incredibly sexy. I mean, like any good Chypre, like
it totally is, isn't it?
There's so much going on, from the kind of bright explosion at the top to the midst, but magic in a bottle.
That stuff, I remember we met a couple of years ago. It was straight after Christmas, and you were wearing it. We went to the pubs along the river.
Yeah.
It must have been last January, and you were wearing it that day, and I kept smelling it, and it was really annoying me because I knew it really well, and I loved it, and I just couldn't put my finger on what it was.
And I remember,
but it kept bugging me. I was thinking, I love that.
I put it on. It was a long time. I put it on first thing in the morning, so it was about 8 hours after application. So you were only getting like the real end of it, but even so, it was kind of working its magic around you.
It still was amazing. Yeah.
So I said we've had
Great
Jacques
choice.
Guerlain, Bertrand Duchefort. We now move on to another 2 fragrances from a perfumer I love, Prin Lomros. It's another choice, Joe. It's another Chypre. It's Mora.
Yeah.
And I mean, Joe's just spoken about
it's
this.
just great stuff, isn't it?
It's just, if you watch our videos and you kind of know our tastes, we kind of like vintage Chypres with kind of, and we love kind of like theatrical Orientals, and this is just both. It's a theatrical Oriental Chypre. It's just, Joe said there's everything in this, and yet it doesn't. It feels theatrical, but it doesn't feel chaotic. It's just beautifully put together, and although the kind of structure and some of the themes in it are familiar, it doesn't smell like anything else. Magic.
No.
Mora.
It smells. If you said to a perfumer, "Can you make something in a way that people used to make perfume but don't anymore because they're too scared to?" He'd make that and go, "Well, I think this is in the ballpark. This is how the masters did it once upon a time."
Mora.
Great stuff.
There is a new version. So this is another one by Prim. Can you guess what it is? Can you tell what it is? I'll just tell you. This is
You've got quite a few, haven't you?
This is
Oh
titular
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
titular. I don't know how to pronounce it. So this is the most
I'd forgotten
oud
about that.
dominant fragrance in this list, and this is a newish fragrance for me. I think I got it just before Christmas, and wow, I mean, this is so addictive. It's so,
Yeah.
I mean, it is so sexy as well. It's just amazing. It's Prin, so it's got loads of things in. It's got a load of florals in. And as it's Prin, there's always one ingredient you've no idea what it is. So this has got Wan Su Long, which is
Pardon me?
exactly, which apparently is some kind of Vietnamese aphrodisiac. But I have to say, this is
Oh, wonderful.
really, it's just sexy, creamy, complex, beautiful stuff. It's one of the few oud fragrances that my wife really likes. Whenever I spray it, she always goes, "Oh, I really like that one." I go, "Oh, it's got quite a lot of oud in it and civet." But
Yeah.
also, surprisingly, this is I've every time I've worn this out, pretty much someone has given me a compliment on this, which may surprise you. Was it's an oudi, civety fragrance. Oh, it's just
Fantastic.
Prin being magic, 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 magic.
And real Far Eastern ingredients. Real sort of transportative
Yeah,
stuff. It's not rose from a garden in Provence and lavender from grass.
yeah, absolutely. It is.
It's
It's it's
real
Prin and all the
authentic
kind
stuff.
of cultural magic that he brings with him.
Yeah,
Um, 7.
love it.
So speaking of extravagant cultural magic, I had to have one from this house. It's Ottoman
Ah,
Empire 1
yeah,
by Irish
the
Ladore.
first and best.
Uh, and Joe's spoken about this. It's just that when I first smelt this, it just, for me, the goalposts of what a fragrance could be were kind of in the same way that kind of Timbuktu, at that stage, kind of moved the goalposts. When I sprayed this, I was like, wow, what is going on here? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
I've just entered a kind of like early 19th century Harmon in Turkey, and all the wood and spice and all the flowers which have been strewn everywhere, and the sandalwood. It is just the most opulent. I mean, I think it's probably Russian Adam at his best, possibly. But it's also because it was the first one I
yeah.
had from him, and the kind of significance of that. Um, that's my number
I
7.
I think it's a real masterpiece.
Now, that I'm going to say is not the most opulent smelling fragrance on this list. My number 8, I think, it is a more opulent smelling fragrance. Um, I didn't have any Atars on my list last time, so this is definitely a
Ah,
new one. So this is Irissoir by Sultan Pasha. Um, Now, I was very close to putting 4 Sultan Pashas in this one. So,
well,
but
they're so incredible, aren't they?
but this is uh, this is insane. I mean, this is kind of Iris just taken every way you can imagine it, and it's just the most thick, luxurious. It's like cloaking yourself in this big regal gown of velvet and jewels and
Oh,
sweeping up, and it's just absolutely magical. It's spicy, it's deep, it's thick, it's just pure luxury. And this is something which I would almost save just to wear for myself, because I don't think other people deserve to smell this. It's just
no, absolutely not. So, does it perform in the same way? In the same way as sort of traditional perfume with top, middle, bottom, or is it all bottom? Is it
no, no.
is it that sort of
There is a sense of kind of evolution, but even from first spray, even off like, this kind of stopper, um, it's so thick and it's so indulgent. It's so rich and beautiful, and it's
yeah,
one that to just be completely indulgent and just for my pure pleasure, this has to be in it.
absolutely
Um, Number
great
9,
choice.
in a way, something completely different. But if I was going to have,
Sauvage.
10 fragrances, not quite, for life, I would want to have this. It's from a British house. And so that's partly, I enjoyed discovering this house. I happened to be walking along the beach in Margate, and I noticed this kind of funny looking little shop. And I walked in, and it was a shop by Hakel's. And this fragrance is Pegwell Bay. And
Yeah.
you know, if we were going to do it, one of the reasons we did do a summer list, this is always going to be on it. Always, 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 always. It's
Yeah.
just this
Totally.
amazing,
Totally.
herbaceous, fennelly, seaweedy. Oh, it's also, it's
Glorious
when I
stuff.
got it, I was yearning for something, a summer fragrance, which was very long lasting and very complicated. And this is it. And every time I wear it, it feels refreshing and invigorating, and it's just brilliant. And for my 10 for life, I
Yeah.
had to have it. Now,
And if you're on a desert island, that's the kind of perfume you're going to be making. When you run out of perfume, you're going to be going for seaweed and fennel and all the coastal ingredients.
absolutely. One more is going to be number 10. Sandalwood by Trumpet. And again, you know, I've got some other honorable mentions. You know, I've got so many more, much more expensive fragrances than this. But this is just, and I think one of the reasons this is in my 10 fragrances for life is to remind me that amazing fragrances are not always expensive and in big glitzy bottles. You know, sometimes
No, absolutely not.
they come in a simple little bottle like this and they cost you whatever it is. I think it's about, is it 50 quid now or something like that? But
Yeah.
it's magic. So obviously it's called, you know, sandalwood. It's got lovely creamy sandalwood, but beautiful citruses and spice in a really, you know, on some hands it's very classic, but I don't know anything else quite like this. There are some similarities with Egoist by Chanel, but for me this is much better. Every time I wear it, I love it. It says cologne on it, but it performs better than most EDPs. I just love it.
Yeah, it's stunning stuff.
And
I'm not a big compliment person, I have to say, but whenever I wear that, I always get a few compliments from people. They always say, "Oh, that's really delicious. What is that?" Or very classic as well.
So then my 10 fragrances for life. I've got a few honourable mentions. I'll just go through quickly. I mean, Ambra Alba by Parfum and Roma. Just absolutely heavenly. It's so simple. It's just basically labdanum and ambergris that lasts like 2 to 3 weeks when you wear it.
That's all you need.
And it's just, in a way, it's quite linear, but it's magical in terms of out and out ambers. Definitely my favorite. Another one from another wonderful British house, which I really love, is Tobacco Rose from the House of Papillon. I mean, I love this, and it's rose.
Wonderful house.
I mean, there are no duds there. This is, in some ways, it's kind of jammy and sexy, and there's an ambery kind of quality to it, but it's also very fresh and green as well. It's something I love wearing I can wear it all round. I can wear it on a really hot day. I can also wear it in the winter to be really comforting. Magic.
Yeah, totally.
There are a few more I could have chosen from Arige Ladore, but Siberian Musk 2 is just bonkers crazy, beautiful.
Yeah.
Pine, bergamot, bright, kind of exhilarating in a kind of familiar way, but just with an absolute ton of real deer musk. Magic. And then one other, which I don't think you've smelt, Joe, is I could have put a few from Salt and Pasha, but one of my most recent ones, this is really, really nearly in this list because it's so unlike any other fragrance. So this is called Thebes Grade 1, and it is heavily inspired by Jedi by Guerlain. So it's Salt and Pasha's interpretation of Jedi. So he smelt it at a Guerlain shop, and I don't think the smell is exactly the same, but the experience is so similar, and it is kind of unlike anything, and it's just so austere and kind of dark. There's kind of iris and lilies and ambergris. It's basically, it's a leather fragrance, but it's got this kind of funereal kind of lily and iris effect with a load of ambergris as well. And this is one, you know, some fragrances you want to put you in a good mood or to feel sexy or to feel energetic. This is the one if you just want to be in a dark room and turn the lights off and have a bit of a cry. It's that kind of fragrance. So anyway.
Amazing. I must smell it.
Those are our 10 fragrances for life, plus more. So
it's an interesting selection.
What I think it is, there are quite a few similarities between the two of us. What I'm going to do now is I am going to play our last one video and
God, yes.
see how different it was. How different it was. So,
I bet mine are all completely different now, aren't they?
right, Joe, your first choice was sing.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's
Uh,
interesting. Oh my
your
God.
your
Well,
second
I do love
choice.
it.
Your second choice was Breath of God.
God, I'm like a stuck record, aren't I?
Your third choice was Sandalwood by Trumper.
Yay!
Your fourth choice was Mouchoir de Monsieur by Guerlain.
Oh, poor Mouchoir
Didn't
didn't
make
quite
it in
make it
this
this
time.
time. I'm glad you made it though.
Yeah. That's in this one. Your next choice was Timbuktu.
Yay! Good stuff.
And then your next choice was Abbey Rouge by Guerlain.
Yeah, I love that stuff. It just hasn't. I've not worn it as much. I guess it's fallen out of my mind. I will bring it in my hand luggage.
After that, you chose Portrait of a Lady by Frederick Mal.
Ah, I'd actually just forgotten about that. I mean, it's stunning, isn't it?
After that, you chose Mora by Prin Parfum.
Yeah.
And then you
I'll never
chose
be without a bottle of
My
that.
by
Yeah.
Bogaway.
Love, 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 love.
And then you chose Mem by Bogaway as well.
Oh, I had Mem as well. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone
So there you
slightly over
go.
to my side.
So quite
And Green
a
Irish Tweed didn't make it, which is interesting, because actually is an old favourite, which I still really appreciate. My bottle isn't here anymore.
How many new ones, or how many different ones? So Abbey Rouge has gone, Mouchoir de Monsieur has gone,
Mouchoir's
Portrait of a
gone.
Lady have gone,
So the new
Timbuktu
ones are
moved out of your list.
Timbuktu's gone. Oh no, is in the honorary mention. So the new ones are
Yeah.
Mitsuko, Ottoman Empire, and Hasu no Hana,
Yeah.
and Shazam.
Yeah.
Shazam is now my reference, well-made woody delight.
There you go. So for me,
So what have you got?
Let's have a look. So my first choice was Timbuktu.
Awesome.
Then I chose Mouchoir de Monsieur.
Excellent.
Then I chose Mem. So isn't that interesting that we both chose Mem, but now it's no longer in there? I chose Ottoman Empire.
But not for any lack of love.
I chose Ottoman Empire. I then chose Russian Oud by Arij Ladore. So I guess maybe my titular by Prin has kind of replaced that as my oud choice. I then chose Turkish Leather by Prin.
That
didn't make it in this time. I did choose Ambra Aurea. I chose Tobacco Rose. I chose Pegwell Bay.
Yeah, oh, good. I'm glad to see this consistency here.
And I chose Chypre Palatin as well. Wow. So it's
incredible.
So for me, so what's new? Well, Mitsuko was new, even though it's now the oldest thing I own. Iriswa was new, and Titular was new. But
so great. I mean, great new things to have as well.
But isn't it interesting how little those have changed?
Yeah. I think, when something ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And also, I wonder if more and more it's not about specific. Well, it is about perfumes, but if it's also about notes and accords and feelings. Like, for instance, if you sort of feel that you need a tobacco fragrance, that if you find an amazing tobacco fragrance, that can actually then be the thing that you love. Rather than the fragrance itself originally. Does that make sense?
It does. I've got to say, for me,
like an oud craving or a rose craving.
I think I completely agree that they become your reference point. And although there might be some other things which are, better, I'm sure there are better kind of lavender aromatic fougères than, I don't know, Mouchoir de Monsieur, but Monsieur de Monsieur is what it is, and it has its role. And for me, certainly things like Monsieur de Monsieur, Ottoman Empire, Timbuktu, the significance that they have had to me, I don't think they're going to ever be displaced, no matter what a perfume
Yeah,
smells like,
absolutely.
because of the way they kind of resonate. And yeah, you change your rotation, and some of these I haven't worn for ages. Sandalwood, I don't think I've worn it actually this year. But
Yeah.
if I had to save 10 from my collection, I would take it.
Yeah,
So there you
absolutely.
go. So there we go.
It's personal memory, isn't it? That's what perfume is about as well. It's about memories. It's about experiences.
Yeah.
And these are them.
Absolutely. So I don't know if that's reassuring or depressing. Anyway, you decide. You tell us.
Who knows? Who
Or
knows?
tell us if this whole video was a waste of time and everyone should stop doing top 10s.
Yeah.
So on that note, till next time, happy sniffing.
Bye.
Bye.